Hello everyone, my name is Koichi. We group is 6. Our group member is Takumi and Kazuki. I would like to introduce our group title Is the meat really a cause of diabetes? We focused on relation between diabetes and meat. Do you think that diabetes develops by eating meat? The first, I would like to explain background and raise some questions. Next, Takumi explains relation between diabetes and meat. And Kazuki explains influence with the meat and they answer my questions. The last, Takumi explains conclusion. Okay, let's start our presentation. The number of diabetes patients are increasing all over the world. Please look at graph 1. Graph 1 shows the change of the estimated the number of world diabetes patients. In 2000, there are 151 million diabetes patients in the world. However, in 2020, there are 463 million diabetes patients and it increases over 3 times. In addition, in 2045, it is predicted that it arrives 700 million diabetes patients. They are roughly divided into 2 types, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. In recent years, type 2 diabetes patients are especially increasing. Type 2 diabetes tended to the over middle age and cycled people. However, the number of young people and children affected with type 2 diabetes is very increasing too. Because type 2 diabetes is caused by lack of exercise and reflection of the nourishment. Then we looked back the Japanese food culture. Before the war, Japanese people ate rice and vegetable a lot. In contrast, they don't eat meat very much. Please look at graph 2. Graph 2 shows that westernization of the Japanese food culture. After the war, the Japanese food culture is westernized. The rate of meat becomes higher and it has been kept the first from 1990. Comparing graph 1 and graph 2, it may say that eating meat is some possibility of increasing diabetes patients because both of them are more and more increasing. However, before the war, the Japanese average lifespan is 60 years. In contrast, after the war, it is over 80 years. It increases 1.5 times. Then I have a question. Do eating meat really affect on our health? Westerners have habits to eat meat, and I think that especially American people eat meat a lot every day. However, comparing Japanese people with American people about the disease rate of type 2 diabetes, there is not a big difference. So I have a question. Is there a relation between diabetes and meat. The first question, do eating meat really affect on our health, is solved by Kazuki's explanation. And the second question, is there a relation between diabetes and meat, is solved by Tagumi's explanation. Next, please, Takumi.
Okay, first, we are gonna suspect the substances contained in meat may promote diabetes. Therefore, we will first compare the meat intakes of the United States and Japan. Americans consume about 91 kilo of meat a year. This is calculated as if you continue to eat 205 grams of meat every day. By contrast, Japanese consume about 45 kilograms of meat per year. Next, we'll compare the number of diabetes patients in the United States and Japan. The number of diabetes patients in the United States is about 30 million, while the number of diabetic patients in Japan is about 10 million. From this result, it can be said that there is a consumption between diabetes and meat consumption. So how do the consumers of meat that are said to act on diabetes act on the body? We continue the survey with specific examples. Next presenter is Kazuki.
Okay, it is said that the number of people who have diabetes have been increasing. In addition, it is said that westernization of meal in Japan have been making progress too. Because of this, we thought that the cause of increasing diabetes was in the diet. We focused on nutrition, which has bad effects on insulin. Heme iron and saturated fatty acid are thought as elements having bad influence on secretion and sensitivity of insulin, which is a hormone that lowers blood sugar levels. Meat contains heme iron and saturated fatty acid a lot. Please look at graph 3, which shows that annual changes in nutrition intake. Looking at graph 3, intakes of animal fat, and animal protein have been increasing. Meat contains animal fat and animal protein. This means that meat intake has been increasing. From this fact, we can infer that having meal is connected with have diabetes. Next page, please. Next, we researched whether there is a correlation between intake of meat and risk of diabetes. We found that experiment that research relationship between intake of meat and risk of diabetes in the case of red meat, processed meat, and chicken. There are many elements that connect with risk of diabetes, such as drinking alcohol, smoking, and being fat, and so on. However, this experiment excluded such elements as many as possible. Please look at graph 41 and graph 42, which shows that relationship between intake of meat and risk of diabetes. From graph 41, we can see that correlation between intake of meat and risk of diabetes in men. However, from graph 42, we cannot see correlation in women. In addition, from graph 41, we can see that even if men have some meat, risk of diabetes is lower than they have meat a little or don't have meat. Because of this, men should eat some meat. In addition, according to a literature, there is no food which has bad effect for diabetes. This literature also says that every food is bad for health if people have them too much. Because of this, we could determine that only eating meat too much is bad for diabetes. Next, please, Takumi.
Okay, I summarize the conclusion. First, we surveyed the nutrition that prevent diabetes. It was concluded that the minerals help prevent diabetes. Therefore, we hypothesized that fatty acids, which are high in meat, may have an advertised effect on the diabetes. In addition, if the number of diabetic patients was collected with the intake of meat, a correction was not obtained. It turned out that nutrition don't affect diabetes to the extent. Okay, thank you for listening.